Welcome back everybody, How to Tech Studio here with a series of videos, yes you heard that correctly, a series of videos called Mastering Pokemon Go Spoofing. We have listened to your comments and we are going to make a few various videos on what they mean, how to answer those questions, and we are going to get you mastering Pokemon Go spoofing, whether you are on iOS, Android, PC, whatever it is. If you like Pokemon Go, if you want to spoof it, then this is the place to go. So without any further ado, make sure that once you watch this video, check out the whole series. All the links and everything you need will be in the description. And of course, when you do like this video, hit that subscribe button and set up the notification bell to get all the latest good stuff sent to you. Now, today's series video is all about bans. We are going to go through all the bans possible, where the effects are, where you get them from, and also some top tips on how to avoid them. So we're going to go through all of that, so stay tuned for the whole video. Now, of course, before we get into that, this video is sponsored by Flex Store, the best third-party app store for iOS devices to allow you to get loads and loads of tweaked and spoofed versions of apps. As you can see, there is a massive library, the ones that we want. Of course, they have iPogo, iSpoofer, SpooferX, and many more to come in the future. It is so simple and easy. With a few clicks, you can click on an app, you can get it signed directly onto your devices without any need for a PC at all, so you can get all of those great apps sent directly to your devices in a matter of seconds. And of course, if you really feel fancy, you can also sign your own apps as well. So without further ado, go ahead, check the links in the description and go and download Flex Store onto your iOS devices. Okay, now, as you can see on my screen, I am using iPogo. Now, iPogo is a wonderful spoofing app. If you don't know how to go and get it, then you can click out links in the description and check out our channel to go ahead and get any version of spoofing that you like. Now, we are going to talk about bans. Now, people are commenting down below saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. So this is the video for you. First of all, as you can see on the screen, there are many different types of bans, and we're going to go through each one in turn. The first thing we're going to go through is something called a soft ban. Now, there are two different types of soft ban. Now, the first one is all about suspicious speed. So if Niantic have detected that you're moving way too fast, for example, you've teleported around the world. Now, we want to do that when we are spoofing, but of course they are rather clever. They can to detect whether you are doing that or not. So whether you are trying to catch Pokemon in a different country or you spin a pokestop based on your last location. So if this happens, this is type 1, then you will be prevented from catching or spinning a pokestop. So what you will find is the Pokemon will always flee on you, or the pokestops themselves will just not spin. Okay, so this is based on basically a radius system. So if you imagine that you are in the middle of a circle, if you teleport out of that circle so far, then it will then prevent you doing anything. Now, this can last anywhere from a few seconds up to 2 hours, and that is all down to something called a cooldown period. As you can see on the screen, we've got a table here which goes through the distance you've traveled and how long that location takes to cool down. So the rule of thumb for this one really is to leave it 2 hours. So if you go and teleport to somewhere, leave it 2 hours, and then you should be good to go. If you're going to go and actually spoof direct Pokemon, we've got a whole video in how to do that in the description, because there is certain things that you might want to leave open and work out your times from there. It's not too complicated once you get used to it, but that is something to be aware of. Now, type 2 of a soft ban is where you play too much. So if you, for example, go from never playing for a week and then suddenly in one day you catch hundreds of Pokemon, thousands of Pokemon, this is meant to catch botted accounts, okay? Now, this doesn't really happen when we're using iOS devices because we're interacting with it in a human way. But if you had a computer based on this, it would then stop you again from catching Pokemon and spinning Pokestops. Now, iSpoofer, iPogo, SpooferX, this doesn't usually happen because it's not a botting system. You still have to do everything. So this one doesn't really happen as often. Now, moving on to a different type of ban. Now, this was the one that was coming up quite a lot in the comments. It's called a shadow ban. Now, this is where Niantic have put in a new detection system which sees if you are using a modified version of their app, i.e. iPogo, iSpoofer, SpooferX, etc. Now, this is meant to stop those apps. However, iSpoofer, iPogo, SpooferX, and all of the other wonderful PC versions like iAnyGo by Tenorshare, they are trying to stop their apps from being found certain ways. But, however, they do still find them. Now, if you are going to use one of these, then Pokemon themselves simply don't spawn on the screen. Now, it's quite a clever kind of way of banning because you can still use pokestops, but Pokemon can't spawn, whether that is on the map itself or in raids as well. So you cannot do that. Now, that can actually last from anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks. Yes, you've heard that correctly, 1 to 2 weeks. That's quite a long time. So I'd be very, very careful of that. The way to then stop that is essentially once you get a modified version of the app, I would use it as if it's the normal kind of app. Maybe teleport to one place, leave it for a bit, don't play it for a while, and then use it exactly how you would use a normal one. It's all about trying to make sure that you are as least detectable as possible. Now then we have our third and fourth bans, and these are called hard bans. Now you can get a temporary ban, and this can last for sort of a week or so. It also can last for up to a month, so you can get a 7-day and a 30-day ban. And this is a temporary ban where basically they have said, right, we've soft banned you, we've shadow banned you, that wasn't enough, so we're going to give you a temporary ban. And this will mean that nothing works on the app. You won't be able to interact with it at all. You won't be able to even log into your account. So that is your sort of last and final warning. And then the fourth ban there is the permanent ban. Now, this is where we don't really want to get to. However, there are some permanent bans happening where people are starting to lose their accounts because they're not doing the safety features enough, and then they're not listening to the bans, and therefore you get your entire account banned. So there's all the bans. So how do we avoid them? Well, first things first, I will say that you need to use alternate accounts. Don't use your main account to spoof because you don't want to run the risk of that. So I would always use an alternate account to make sure that you spoof from. And then what you can do is you can just trade yourself whatever it is, the Pokemon that you go and capture. We've got a whole link in the description on how to do that. So we're not going to explain that today, but that will be in the video down below. Also, when you do go ahead and get a spoofed version, whether you're using iOS, Android or PC, doesn't really matter. Just be aware of how the interaction with the server works. So anything that interacts with the server, that's a raid, Pokestop, or a Pokemon, therefore you are telling Niantic where you are. If you, for example, are in one place and you travel thousands of miles and you interact with them within seconds, you're obviously going to tell them what you're doing. So if you do travel somewhere, I would always leave it time, and then you can start to use it, and be careful on how you interact with it. Be human-like, make sure your speeds are not too high, and interact with things as sensible as possible. So thank you very much for watching. Guys, remember this is part of our Mastering Pokemon Go Spoofing series, so go ahead and check out all of the other videos within this series as well. And of course, check out our channel, and thank you very much for watching.